Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
I think we should say it's been a hard week in Israel. Especially hard. I will just share in a few sentences as my experiences in Israeli. It's well known that it's tense in Israel. It's always tense. Some will say it's always hard from this aspect. And we even get used to it. Some of us just get used to it, that this is how it is. And once in like 3-4 years, there are hard weeks, rockets, some operations, and we treat it, as that's how it is. That's how it is in Israel. So when I'm in Ireland at the moment, and when I texted some friends, how are you, and some replied, yeah, just another round. But I think it wasn't just another round. And what's different from where I'm standing, Ruti, maybe, not maybe, please also give your sharing about this. This time, what is different is that it's much more, I will call it wild, like it's much more in the streets. It's not soldiers against terrorists or how people in Gaza. It's Arab, Israeli Arabs, Israeli Muslims against Israeli Jews, and Jews against Israeli Muslims. It reached cities that usually it doesn't reach, the rockets and the acts of violence. So there is something different this time. So this is not our subject today, but I would love us to plunge in through this, because this is very relevant to our topic today, which is living as a fixed idea. Super, super relevant. So please, would you say something from your heart, from your perspective?
Yeah, I think that we are at the midst of a climax. The way the Israeli public opinion has been driven for many years now has been of fixed ideas. It has been of looking at reality as a means to an end. You approach something to get what you want out of it, to get where you want to get to, by using people, by allowing yourself to control people, by allowing yourself to take whatever you need from them. And in many ways, it created a space where people are asked to believe that they are right and the other side is wrong, that it's a question of rights and force should be used in order to have something, and it's our right to use it. These are all ideas, and it is our land, and this is the Jewish people, and this is what we need to do, and we have no choice. Every aspect of that is it's a fixed idea. Now, the history of the Jewish people has been of much pain and much violence against us as people. It has been that way. And the Holocaust was a terrible time for the whole world and for Jewish people in a particular way. Very, very, very horrible and horrendous. And yet, how would it look like if we didn't understand reality and then relate to it as fixed ideas, meaning these are the good people, these are the bad people, this is what shouldn't have been done, and that is why we're allowed to do things that also shouldn't be done, not in the same level, but also shouldn't be done, control other people, occupy land that is not ours, use the Bible in order to justify our being somewhere, and especially cause pain and suffering and not see other people just because it's like the fixed ideas have become a merchandise desired by people, taken as a weapon to have my way and to eliminate other people, other ways of thinking, other dreams and wishes and ways to live. By those fixed ideas, we allow ourselves to do whatever people should not be doing, whatever a human being is called to feel and to know within himself or from within himself that this should not be done. Okay, and then we go to a place where there are no fixed ideas. In the Hebrew Kabbalah, in the mystics of Judaism, there is a word called, in Hebrew, it's halal panui. And its meaning is like an empty space. But the meaning of empty space or empty void is that thoughts cannot live, cannot be present in that space. It's a space so aware, so vivid, so truthful, that everything that is created by ourselves as human beings, every something that might become a fixed idea or coming from the thought that we see whatever needs to be seen, and then we exchange thoughts and perceptions and so on, that cannot live in that space. It's like it dissolves to light, which is our true nature. So halal panui, or an empty space, is a place.
I wouldn't call it empty, It's I'm not
It's
sure what
vacant.
vacant.
It's
I would,
vacant.
like in free translation, I would call it free space.
Yeah, it is right.
It's
But
free
Hebrew,
from this dimension, or this tirkovet, this
mixture.
Yeah, what thoughts are made of. I know it's not something we can really say, but It's like there is a vibration, there is a consistency, there is a frequency. I don't know what's the word.
Yeah.
That thoughts are made of, that words are made of, concepts, ideas. When we say thoughts create reality, I think this is what we mean.
Right. And when we are aware, that cannot happen, because when we are aware, the thought is meant to be in its original intention by God is that the word, the logos, or the word of God, or the word of the universe creates a form or shape from that infinity, that eternity or eternal infinity. And then from there it takes shape. And this shape is temporal, it's temporary, it's there for a time. The word of God creates a reality that was not there. Our role, if I may call it, our what we are asked to do, what we were meant to do originally, is to really participate in the Logos, in the creation of God, and then remember and come back to its original form from our inner knowing. That means that an idea that has been fixed for a very long time becomes an infinite number of possibilities or tendencies. It becomes vibrant again, eternal again. It becomes the number before zero. Before there is a countdown or any kind of an order, there is this place that was not created yet by our words and conceptions, but was created by God. And that is why from there we originate, from there we stem.
I would like to take our topic today, living as a fixed idea, and to really like put it into life. This is something, living as a fixed idea is something we discuss a lot, we explore a lot in the coaching that we do, in the work that we do, in the studies that we do, as partners and as individuals, as people, because this is what we wish to, like you say, to awaken from, in a way, to remember this free space, this empty space, that life is not just about thoughts. Life is not just about. Life is not thoughts. So the first question comes to my mind is, I don't know if we should start with this question, but what is the price we pay when we live as a fixed idea? This is part one of the question. And part two is, how do I know, or how can I tell when I come from this with an idea, with a thought, with a longing, with a vision? How do I know when it's coming from here? And how do I know when it's coming from a fixed idea that I got used to thinking, or that I want, not from a genuine place, but because I got used to, or because I'm scared that if I won't accomplish it, I will be miserable, and so on. So you can either take it from here, or you can ask me something back, and we can go from there. Yeah.
Maybe I start with those two questions and then we'll see where it takes us.
Yeah.
The way to know whether I'm coming from a fixed idea or whether I'm present to the moment, exploring on the one hand, but also letting go of the filters and ways of perceiving things in the world so that I can really encounter life as they really are and not through the eyes of or the thoughts
The filter.
of
It's like the filter.
filters. Yeah, the filters that I've grown to believe that is us.
Pause. I feel it will be very helpful for me and probably for everyone listening if we will go through my question through a specific example. Because living as a fixed idea, maybe it's a bit too vague. And I want us to be really, like I said, in life. So maybe we will take something that is relevant for what we started with. There are many people in Israel believing that, for example, we have to fight. We have to be in war. Tell me if it's a good example. For me, this is living as a fixed idea. That if we won't defend Israel with a very strong military force, then there will be no Israel. There will be no country for the Jewish people. And like you said, the Jewish people needed a country. Mm-hmm. So I'm taking a fixed idea, maybe, but it's connected to reality, you know? The Jewish people didn't invent their history. It happened.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So now we can maybe go from here.
So if we go about it from a fixed idea, then what will happen is that the questions I would ask first are what do I need to do in order to secure the continuing existence of the state of Israel? The second question that I would ask is, how can I do that? First of all, with paying a less terrible price for myself or for the people of Israel. And then I would ask, maybe if I'm good and if I care, I would ask, how can I do it without making the other side, which I believe is the other side, pay a great price? And that would be a good question. And then I would resolve in finding solutions to a problem. Okay, I would try, sometimes I would go to war, sometimes I would intimidate, sometimes I would retaliate, sometimes I would ask for peace talks, sometimes I would ask for, or I would initiate solutions for like 2 states for 2 people or 1 state for 2 people, whatever. And I would find ways, excuse me, I just need to close the window. But that is something that would resolve in me trying to find a solution while I'm thinking, trying to find a solution while I'm thinking that I have initial conditions that must be met and cannot be interrupted or questioned. Okay, they must be. The first one is Jews must have a country.
Yeah.
And the second one is there are sides. Okay, those two, the question of Jews must have a country is also the result of thinking there are sides. Okay, so There is the good
side,
side and the bad side. There
or
is
just the Jewish side and the non-Jewish side? Does
right.
it, even before bad and good, there, but again, I'm asking, is this an illusion?
So wait. So if I look from sides, I'm going to speak
Okay.
about that. So if there are sides, and if the condition that Jewish people must have a state, then everything that I would do would at a point come to a dead end. Because if I believe that there are sides and the Jewish state must be, then the question of who is going to pay the price of this Jewish state that must be here, I forgot, here, okay, is, I would go a long way. I would walk a long path to make sure that the other side is well off. And there are initial questions and that needs to be addressed. It's not playful and it's not lighthearted, but there is a moment when I think sides and I think must, whatever this must is, whatever it conveys or whatever its predisposition is, that I will reach the point of an either or. Okay, because if you want to have equal rights, but you're not taking responsibility, if you want to have equal rights, then I need to be the majority, then we're in a problem. Okay, so at a very, very short period, these dead ends would start to show themselves.
Yeah.
And since our mind works that way, the mind is not our ability to think, but that mechanism that we've grown to believe that is reality, thinking that the world is dangerous and complex, and that we are vulnerable and lacking, and that the question of coping and survival are the questions that need to be met without any compromise, and only afterwards we can talk about beauty and love and so on. Then this is what will be. Okay, this is how it will be. So the minute we continue from there, then
It's just a matter of time.
in a very short time.
Yeah.
That happens. Then
It's
what
not a
happens?
question of if, it's a question of when and how hard it will be.
Yes, and it is hard. And it's a very, very big price to pay for everyone. Yeah, it has been paid since the dawn of humanity, because the thought of an either or, the thought of sides, the time we wanted this time where we wanted to understand and to control, and we ate this apple in the Garden of Eden, that was the time when everything was divided into sides, the good and the bad. Shame came into the picture, okay, because now there were sides and they could look at each other. So they saw that they were naked and they saw that they need to hide or conceal something.
And they saw that they are separated.
They thought so. Because when you think sides, you think separation. You think we're separated and we may come together, but it needs to be, and so on. So this price that has been paid for so many decades or generations is a price that we were taught to believe that is inevitable, that there is no other way, that we must pay this price, because at the end, when the rubber hits the road, you need to decide on which side are you and who is going to win.
Yeah.
So whether it's a war of public opinions, or it's a war about missiles, as has been going on here and still is in Israel and Palestine, or Israel and Gaza now, then this is again what's
Yeah.
happening. My father was in the army, my mother was in the army, I'm in the army, and 4 of my children are in the army, because that's how it goes. It
Yeah,
never.
because also that's what being human is. You know, we call it human nature. No, we call it.
That's what we believe human nature to
Yeah,
be.
and we say, look back, it was always like this. People always fought. It was always,
Yeah.
you know, this is what we do. This is
Yeah.
often what I tell to myself. This is what we do.
So every time I hear that, even now, even when I woke up and saw on the TV those bombs in Gaza and this violence in Israel and this destruction, and again, and it does not solve anything. When you say this is human nature, I can't even hear what you're saying. Like every cell of my body is rejecting what you're saying now, because this is not the human nature. The human nature, before we started to distort it, I have no other good word for it. It's like like, I forgot the word in English, but it's like you become something that you're not. It's like you're so distorted, you're so far from your nature that it becomes, oh, it reminds me that there was something else needed to be said. When we start going against our nature and we explain that we put those conditions, those preconditions,
Which
and
are
then
ideas.
ideas, fixed ideas
That
that could
I'm
not
bringing us
be
back to
challenged.
the.
Right, thank you. And they could not be challenged. They could not be questioned. They could not be, someone would come and would say, why? But why? Not why, like from a condescending point of view, not from being some kind of a hippie in a bad way. I mean, just thinking of other fixed ideas and not touching reality, but really, really coming from how would it look like if we came not from the fixed idea, but from feeling, from knowing that we are one with the other, so that it cannot be that he's hurting and I'm not. It cannot be that he's crying over his dead, but I'm not crying with him. It cannot be that I do not know the names of his casualties, their casualties, over a fence, but I do know every name of mine. And I also see their families crying over them, like Omer just now. So that this is exactly the place where we start rationalizing, because we go against our nature, because we are run by fixed ideas. That's the price that we're paying. It's not only that we pay the price of going against the natural movement, and then we create, it's like bumping into a wall thinking you won't be hurt. If I'm driving 220 and I'm running into the wall in a race, there's something very definite that would happen. It's not a surprise. Yeah. So when I go with a fixed idea, I would run into that wall. But if I know that there are no fixed ideas, that they exist just in my head, but in reality, there is no fixed idea. And there are no two, there's only one vibrating essence. I think it's the best word to describe it by. Then whenever I feel that and I know that, then whenever someone comes from a fixed idea, or I am taught a fixed idea. There was a lot of talk now about the COVID-19, asking those questions. I'm not talking about very hermetically closed conspiracy theories, but the question of who said, how can we be sure? How can you really know something? These are questions coming from realizing that we have been dealing and even exchanging like merchandise, fixed ideas, and it's time to challenge them. It's time to ask, if there is a fixed idea, then there is a fixed someone that invented it by creating a word, by creating a theory, and we've sometimes been educated by it. Sometimes, since we've grown, nobody knew otherwise. Like the
Yeah,
earth is.
and also what we think the realm of our possibilities is to replace, like you say, we merchandise. Okay, so this idea doesn't sound right, then I will trade it. I will
No,
replace it with another idea. So what you're saying is not just to challenge the ideas, but to challenge the whole realm of where ideas exist, where
exactly. Now, ideas again, ideas as an idea is wonderful, because when I smell, touch, feel an idea, the idea is a possibility. It is a way of seeing things, a way of looking at things, so that the particles of light take a shape. This is wonderful. This is an ability of human beings. This is our nature, part of our nature. So that by our intention, by our wisdom, which is not the wisdom that we've created as merchants, but that we've created, that we've come to know since we're really listening to the power of creation, then what we do is that the idea comes from an inner knowing, and from the oneness, from knowing that maybe the question of the suffering of the Jewish people, which are, by the way, not the only people who have been suffering greatly, gravely in the history of humankind, of course, not even need to be said, then maybe what we're meant to do is not to go up to our minds thinking, how can I make sure it never happens again? But maybe I am the conductor,
doctor,
that through me,
the
since
vessel.
the vessel, it's like in Hebrew the word, but it's spiritual, it's like a hose, but it's not a hose like for water. It's like an empty something that allows the inner wisdom, the higher wisdom, the wisdom of the soul, the wisdom of people before they become identities and things and look at themselves as fixed ideas. This wisdom can be transferred through us to others, and through others and from others to us, because that's how it is. And if we're open to it, and if we allow ourselves to be open to it and to ask to receive that, then there is an infinite abundance of love and beauty and possibilities. I'm coming back to an idea. When there's an idea, it rises, it stems from this kind of listening to the infinity speaking to me, listening and abiding to the eternal guiding me in my way. And when I listen to that, I would not be able to continue thinking that I am a thing or a fixed idea. Because when I see the suffering, instead of rationalizing it and then becoming more entangled in the fixed idea, holding on to it, needing it, thinking I am nothing without it, the contrary is happening. I let myself be destabilized. I let myself be shaken in a good way, like when we're in love. Yeah? We cannot continue to be as we are. We need to be overflowing. It's not we need to be. This is what happens. We overflow. And when that happens, then the idea comes from there. A possibility is presented. A shape is created. And when I am there, thinking of life or perceiving life as an idea, it inspires me. It calls me to rise up. It invites me to take off the coat that I've grown to believe that was me, so that I become something new. And when that happens, it's not only new, I become more, or I am now acting more accordingly to my nature and not to the ideas that I've created. The idea presents the abundance. The moment I create it or I think of it as a fixed idea, I say, this is how it is. There is no other. It cannot be otherwise. Then it becomes this problem and this price that we need to pay. So if I go back to Israel and to the idea of needing a state,
must have a country. I don't know why, but I have Moses.
Yeah.
I have Moses, like in the story of Exodus. Can I make a short pause? You won't lose your track? I'll bring you back if you will. So you're talking about an idea and how when something that its time has come, and there's some wisdom talking from, not from my idea, but something new, something that is currently happening. I was thinking of Moses, and I don't know how coherent is the story to history, but let's take the story as the story that we know. And Moses had this idea, not in the spiritual sense, this vision, this knowing that something needs to happen here, and he's the one to lead this move.
Wait, you know that he was how do you say, not speaking coherently. It's like, I don't know the word, but he's like repeating a word until he gets it right. So when he was like that, and when he felt this inner calling, or he met God, then he encountered God, then God told him to be his messenger, to be his prophet. And he said, no, I'm not adequate. My brother speaks much better than me. Okay? That's already not a fixed idea. Okay? Because God told him, do whatever I say. I understand.
I'm saying, so in this case, in Moses' case, it wasn't a fixed idea. And then we know what happened. Okay, we released the Hebrew people and led them to the country of Canaan, which is Israel. And then it was the time that the Hebrew people need to have their space, and they conquered the land. And I'm thinking about this. We still live this idea, we as Jews. So this experiment of Jews having a country, Hebrews having their own country, has been going on for a while, and I call it experiment because it comes and goes and comes and goes and comes and goes. I think like at least 3 times it happened that they had their own country and then they lost it, or we. So it brings me back to the second question of how do I know that what I'm following, what I'm answering, is this genuine? I call it genuine as in, am I being a vessel or am I being a fixed idea?
Yeah.
Now, back to you.
So you know this by two, I find two major ways to look at it. One is that you're willing to let go. If you come from a fixed idea, you will not let go. You will do whatever you need to make sure that it happens as you believe it should happen. Okay? When you come from something that is inspiring you, that you have been called to, you would be there very airy. This same Moses you were speaking about, when God told him to hold the
wand, like the stick,
and call the people and tell them that God would be with them, he went to his fixed idea, trying to convince them, like marketing. He wanted to convince them that he is the one and that God is with him and that they are secure. And he hit the
rock
in order to make sure that the water comes out, because he said the proof that God is with us is that water would come out of the rock. But in order to make sure, coming from a fixed idea, he wanted to make sure they would buy the product. So he hit the rock. And for that, he did not enter the promised land. And what God told him was that it was because if you are not absolutely in the hands of God, in the hands of your nature, in the hands of the nature of it all, then you cannot really be the leader of, or you cannot really grasp what the promised land is. And then he did not enter, and who did enter was an army person, an army general. Okay? And from then, this is the conception that you need to conquer in order to have exactly the same mistake that Moses did when he hit the rock. Okay? Because it is not our doing. So coming back to your question, the first thing is that if we are listening well to something that's time has come, then we don't need to fight for it. We need to make it happen. And we will make it happen only with other people. If we won't be with other people, we'll be fighting. And if we will be fighting, even if we started off as an idea that's inspiring, it results in being a fixed idea with all the price being paid. The second way of knowing that we're holding on to a fixed idea, or worse, that we are being run by a fixed idea, is that, how should I say it? It's like you there is always friction. Okay, it's not only that I have to fight for something. There are always two things, even in me. Okay, like when you see that there is herpes, there is conflict. when you see that there's a conflict within you, okay? Instead of it becoming beautiful, simple, and coming from love and spreading love wherever you go, it becomes friction, either or, price, and so on. So that again, I find myself split. Again, I find myself eating another apple and another apple from that tree, wanting to know and control. Maybe another way of saying it, now I got it, is it inflicts on me the need to control, because I need to make sure that the conditions are met. I need to make sure that things will happen as I thought. So the friction and the need to control are the result of it. Okay, so that is the first one. And the second one is that it has to happen. Those two signs, when I see them, I know that I took something that was very vibrant and very alive, and I made it a thing.
Yeah. So the problem is, or the trap is, not in the idea, but in the fixed idea.
Right. In the moment, I think that I must be that, or it must happen. Now let's look for a moment. How would it look like? We're talking about Israel today, so let's go back to Israel. How would it look like if we didn't come from a fixed idea, but we came from an idea? Okay, so let's say that the Jewish history says that whenever we're in another country, I'm not sure that it says that, but let's go along with thinking that way for a moment. That whenever we live in another country, we're still exposed to being treated badly, or hurt, or even extinct. It's like being extinct. So we want to have a state, okay? We think it's a good idea. We think it might do good. But then coming from that, we're not thinking of it as a fixed idea. We invite other people to join. We think of the state of Israel not as the right of the Jewish people, but as an opening for all of us, for the higher benefit of everyone.
Everyone, so, also non-Jews.
Of course, non-Jews. Everyone, yes.
Everyone.
So yeah. If I think of that, first thing that I need to see is with whom, where, okay? Where should I be? And when I ask this question, I would look for a place that would enable me to explore on a continuous basis and to express on a continuous basis the beauty of everyone, so that everything is manifested in its best form, it's inspirational. Okay, so I would do that. And if I cannot, for example, in Israel, the existing thought, and it's not irrelevant and not taken out of nowhere, is that the Arab people do not wish us to be here, whomever they may be, okay, the neighboring countries or Arab Israelis living in Israel.
Palestinians.
Yeah.
I mean, the people who were there before it was Israel.
Yeah, for was the state of Israel.
Yeah.
So that I ask myself many times, did we ask really? Were we really interested in them? Did we think that we are guests? Did we act like ones? If we did things by thinking we had no choice, that really hurt them. Did we ask for forgiveness? Did we ask for compensation? Were we acting and thinking as we would like others to treat us? Because the way, when we're not with a fixed idea and then we say, well, now there's no choice, we need to make it happen, then everything that happens becomes like a sign for me, or a way for me, or a gate for me to become more accurate in what I do, to listen better, to find ways that were never maybe found before, to create partnerships that may also tell me that I'm not welcome.
Yeah.
Because when we ask someone, really ask someone, there's always the possibility of him or her refusing. That's the nature of a real question.
Yeah.
So if I asked and they said no, and I think that they're mistaken, I would come again. Yeah? I would ask them again. I would tell them what I see. I would share with them my vision, my dream of being together.
Yeah. And I would also tell them, you know, I'm great, you know. Maybe you want to look again because maybe you want me here.
Yeah.
This is
Right.
also the coming from a different point of view of myself. You know, I laugh because it's something I learned in dating. You know, when you get rejected, somebody doesn't want to be with you, doesn't welcome you, and you're like, you can either try and force yourself in a way that you think you need this, and if you won't have it you'll be lacking or miserable, or you can like find your inner, like your love for yourself, and not just loving yourself but being happy, being yourself, you know, and say, do you want to be with me because you better.
Right.
um so what
The,
if we come like this?
yeah. But also, in order to really come like this,
Yeah, you can't fake it.
you can't fake it, and you must be willing to accept no.
Yeah.
If I feel that I have no choice, then this is not a question, it is a manipulation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it like
Like
marketing? I'm
selling
trying to
yourself. Exactly.
convince.
Yeah. You better. It would be in your interest.
Right. So then I would come and I would really ask, and I would listen to the question, and then I would like inhale the question into myself. And when I do that, I'll be really asking for your way of thinking, for your way of seeing things. And through that, I would actually find myself looking again from a different angle. And then I would become creative because I'm not thinking that it must be, but I am thinking that it is beautiful when it is like that.
Yeah.
So that is why when now Arabs and Jews are some Arabs and some Jews were fighting in the streets in a very unprecedented manner, very violent, attacking, burning synagogues, I don't know if we burned mosques, but we treated really badly. Some people were treating each other very badly and caused great suffering and pain. When there is something like that happening, and I think of myself as a fixed idea, I would say, so this woman who was badly injured and was delivered because she was 9 months pregnant safely her baby was delivered safely, I would not ask whether she was Arab or Jew. I would know that she's a woman. That's enough. When I come from a fixed idea, I would ask, was she Arab or Jewish? If she's Jewish, then I'm really glad. And if she's Arab, then I either don't care or I wish otherwise. Okay? So having an idea of being Jewish, for example, which is absolutely not the only way I perceive myself, and I'm also not sure the most significant something that I have to say about myself. But I do treat it very respectfully, and I explore this during my life. So when I was in Auschwitz with Arab friends, we led a journey there to really understand each other. Then the Arab friends, they were asking me questions and were crying over what was done to us, were the ones enlightening my path and understanding, allowing me to understand anew what being a Jewish person is. And that is something that is unprecedented. And when Palestinian friends came to me and said, we need to listen to you. You need to do, you as Jewish people in Israel, you need to show the way. We want you to show us the way. Please do. You see things which we don't, then I would also do that because they asked. Not because I think I'm superior, but because when I'm with them and I know that I'm one, I allow myself to really be there. And I just want to add, because we're almost done, many years of my life, I've been taught to really try hard to do good, really try hard not to do bad, not to hurt, and not to make anyone suffer. But it got to these dead ends because those preconditions didn't allow me to cross over to this space that is, it might be thoughts and ideas, but they're not fixed. And I don't think that I or anyone else are those ideas. We have them. They're here for a while. We want to go through them to allow ourselves to experience them, but that's enough. They don't become us, and we're not fixed. We're light and spirit conveying itself to itself, experiencing itself. So there was this time when I needed to make this leap of faith that was not, I'm not talking about faith like a really strong opinion. I'm talking about faith as something that is, it's the listening, this listening to the inner knowing, to our true nature and the nature of it all.
It's like jumping into this free space we were talking about.
Exactly.
That's the leap of faith. That's what I imagine. That
exactly.
Jumping into a place that you have nothing to hold on to.
Right. And then to do that, why do we call it a leap of faith? Because the mind cannot grasp what you're doing. Its modes and ways of understanding and logic cannot convey, cannot perceive this knowing. Because
for the mind, it's an act of suicide.
Right, because it exists outside of the realm of thought, of the realm of logic, which is like a glue that we have invented to rationalize things. If we go back to our natural essence, looking from there, then we see, then you really see. And then there is the real encounter with life and with another person. And that is what we came here to do. So we better start.
Amen. And hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good weekend. And yeah, people, if you're watching, when you're watching, you're so welcome to comment and ask and answer and take part in any way.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.